Welcome to Army-Navy Football 2011 and our 6th annual Cost of Freedom Weekend. On behalf of the Class of 1972 United States Naval Academy, 27th Company, we invite you to share with us a special weekend of joy, laughter, tears, fun, learning and growing amongst classmates, friends, family, and honored guests, all under one roof. By the end of the weekend, we hope that you will all become part of our Cost of Freedom family.
It's 9:05 on WCBS New York, and we are covering for you a couple of explosions. Planes have crashed into each of the towers of the World Trade Center just within the last few minutes.
I looked at the televisions, and I saw the two towers engulfed in thick black smoke, and I got angry. I mean, like, wow, how dare they, you know? I knew how many people worked there. I knew how tall those buildings were. The buildings were still standing then, but I knew that something very tragic was going to happen. They might come down. And I asked God to use me to go down there and help, you know, people. And that I was willing to give my life that day in His service.
And while everyone was fleeing out of New York, headed in his car towards the Brooklyn Bridge, he walked across the bridge as everyone walked the other way.
Right down to ground zero and walks right onto the pile after the authorities had ordered everyone off the pile because of the danger.
You're climbing up and down the tangled steel, and you know the fires were going off. We heard debris shifting and parts of the buildings collapsing there.
And he started to say something that still gives me chills when I hear it. U.S. Marines, can you hear us?
United States Marines.
United States Marines, if you can hear us, yell or tap.
In the distance, up from the left hole, I could hear someone, it was almost like a whisper. U.S. Marine Corps, can anybody hear us?
I'm just a regular guy, you know. I'm a Marine, and you know, somebody asked me why'd you do what I did. Well, you know, it was something that God had laid on my heart to do, number one. And I think under the circumstances of that day, it's what Marines do.
After returning to the firm in the winter of 2001, he made a decision to re-enter the United States Marine Corps on active duty. He was sent to where he currently is now, in Iraq. What I'm proud to say is he is one of over 40 of my colleagues from across the country who've responded to the call or have been called back, who proudly serve our country.
And it wasn't until I was driving home on the expressway, I lived in Ronkonkoma, and there's a sign somewhere around exit 60. It's a sign that you've probably passed, or I've passed 100 times, and it says New York City, 55 miles. And I was driving home that evening after work, and not a car on the road, not a plane in the sky, it was just still. And I remember passing that sign and thinking, the enemy flew our planes into our buildings less than 60 miles from where I live. And at that moment, I decided that I'm going to think like an adult and make a decision for someone other than myself. And at that moment, I decided I was going to join the military. It was that clear to me.
Our purpose is simple: to show our appreciation for our soldiers, Marines, airmen, and sailors, who so proudly and selflessly defend our nation's borders and protect our greatest national treasure, freedom.
We were the first ones to go and cross that line.
And that's the great thing about our nation. They go. There's never a lack of U.S. citizens that will fight for our country. And that's what makes our country so great.
Our job was to close in and engage the enemy. Well, then that's what we were going to do. Because if I don't do it, that unit behind me that's driving from point A to point B to pick up supplies, somewhere in the middle, that enemy is going to attack those men. And that wasn't going to happen after my watch. And I know every one of my teammates felt the same way.
Freedom is not free. It comes with a great price tag. Just look into the eyes of some of our veterans returning from war. Some of their wounds of war are obvious. Some are hidden. Some barely made it back. Some did not come back. They made the ultimate sacrifice. All gave some gave all, and we must never forget. That would be a national travesty.
I never went into a conscious shock. I didn't sit there and say, oh my God, I'm in shock. The only thing I could remember is, again, that Marine training, right? The only thing I could think of was, you cannot freak out in front of your Marines. Your Marines are watching you. So the only thing I could do was focus on breathing, not passing out, and not freaking out. I knew I was hit bad, but I could not show my Marines anything that would scare them.
My type of injuries that I received is not physical, it's all internal, whether it be over-percussions from multiple IED blasts, artillery barrages. That's the type of injury that I had received multiple times via, getting tossed or blown out of a building, or building collapsing on me, or just getting whacked in the back of the head of my helmet with shrapnel.
And as a bonus to all of us, we get to learn more about honor, courage, commitment, sacrifice, respect, and valor. And we get to learn it from the greatest teachers this country has to offer, our servicemen and our servicewomen.
So people ask me all the time, they say, Sam, it must be so hard to do an Ironman with one hand, or to do an Ironman with one leg. And that word hard, we attach that to everything we do, and we define things as hard. But the truth of the matter is at least for me, in my lifetime, I've done 3 hard things. I kissed my wife goodbye before I deployed. I've told a doctor to cut my hand off, and I've watched a soldier die. Those are 3 hard things. Everything else we do is challenging.
There are others that will inspire you to move on and move ahead, and it happens to us all. So what we're doing is actually just passing that ball on to the next person to say, hey, we know what you're going through. Here's the ball, run with it. If you drop it, pick it up and keep running. That's what it is. We feed off of others.
Yeah, it is absolutely humbling, especially for me and the group here that has seen me come such a long way in the last 4 years. I was in pretty bad shape 4 years ago, but I'm much better now. And I am absolutely humbled. I've made such great progress. And then I stand next to somebody with a much more severe injury that I feel, and I think, look at these guys. This doesn't stop them. You talk to people like Sergeant Major, he's such an inspiration. And I hardly had a chance to talk to him. There was so much talking going on. It's like this weekend could last a month and you would still not get as much as you want. I'll tell you this, it is truly one of those events you'll walk away from going, I can't believe all that just happened in a weekend.
The level of the quality of people that was here, I think, was awesome, and the compassion and caring. And I know a lot of work went into this, so that really touched my heart, And I think it meant a lot to me, but I know it meant even more to some of these other guys, that were here, that are, challenged with their physical and mental aspects of their recoveries. And I think this was very, very huge for them.
Anytime you can put your kids around positive role models like that, well, like the group of soldiers that were here today, what better group of guys, each one of their stories is a lesson that those kids can take on for the rest of their lives. That someday you might leave your job and race your car down to, a horrible accident and put a uniform on and make a difference. That's a story that's so powerful. It choked me up. To be able to have the opportunity to put your kids around those people, and then people that support that, people that appreciate it and are thankful for that. Well, you're setting your kids up for success for the rest of their lives.
This weekend will be a reason and a season for all of you to feel a little more blessed. And we want our troops to know that we really appreciate them. Thank you, thank you, thank you.